Welcome to BearyVaried. I'm John, and today we're going to be talking about why Slasher on Netflix is one of the most underrated shows out there. So, every once in a while there seems to be a movie or a show that comes along and you love it to death and you assume everyone loves it and it has to be famous and like trending and stuff, right? And then you come to realize none of your friends have seen it, none of your family, no one that you work with. And you start to feel like, am I the only person around who's even watched this show at all? As a horror fan, you know, I keep a pretty good eye on the community, you know, online, and you know what all the buzz is about. You know, if you look through a lot of these communities, you know, you'd think Slasher didn't even exist. Lo and behold, it is amazing. Season 3 was just released, and so I binged out on it. And I'm not really one to usually binge on TV shows, especially shows that have episodes that are about 45 minutes long each. But man, Slasher is one of the few that gets me every season. Season 1, 2, and then now 3. It's been that way for all of them. So what I want to do in this video is address why I think Slasher is underrated and what makes it so good, and why if you haven't heard about it, then you might want to give it a shot and check it out if you're into slashers, because this show's for us. It's so good. So the first thing I want to cover is that the format of the show allows it to remedy and address some of the most common complaints people have with slasher films. So one of those being that it's a format of 8 episodes per season with about 45-minute long episodes. And basically what that allows you to do is you actually have character development. You know, you build a connection with the characters. You learn to love them or hate them and have a really justified reason for why. And you know, that means that when someone's being chased, there's more on the line. There's higher stakes because you've gotten to know these people better. And that just makes this even more compelling, and it also gives it time to actually flesh out a plot. I mean, if you imagine 2 episodes of this series would equal about 1.5 hour long film. And so considering there are 8 episodes, I mean, that really puts into perspective how much more time you're spending with the characters, how much more time there is for the plot to be developed and be really interesting. And so I think that it just serves it extremely well. And by it having a TVMA rating, which is just as good as an R rating in theaters, then there isn't a constraint. You know, like a lot of the kind of teen slasher movies that kind of dominated some of the late 90s. No, this has got an edge to it. It's got a bite to it. It's definitely not watered down. It's for the like devout horror enthusiast that isn't afraid of some gore and like craziness going on. And it has the freedom to do all that throughout the season, and it just is the better for it. Something else a lot of folks will complain about with slasher movies is saying that there's no message, there's no point. It's just a lot of people who are set up very poorly that are obviously only there to be killed by the killer, and then everyone gets picked off. One person survives at the end and it's over, and it's like, okay, like, does it have anything to say though? We've all seen that a million times. And Slasher actually does have something to say. Now, what it has to say might piss people off, but it does have something to say. It touches on xenophobia. It touches on, you know, our kind of collective cultural addiction to social media and trending and all that, and you know, doing anything and everything to get viewers, even if it's at the price of kind of forsaking your humanity, you know, and turning a blind eye, or even being almost predatory in the capturing the pain, you know, that people who are actually going through something very serious and loss and those kinds of things, just exploiting it for fame. And so it really is not shy about taking a stab at that, and it's great. I mean, it really tackles quite a few notions, you know, like I mentioned xenophobia. One of the main characters, she's from Afghanistan. Her and her family are refugees, and there's this one guy in the building that they live in, and all these characters in this season pretty much live in this one building, and that's kind of the thread that connects all of them together. And you know, there's this one guy and he's just, you know, kind of a white nationalist, bigoted, kind of just mean, nasty person. I mean, anybody he encounters in the hallway of the building, whether they're gay, they're a different color than him, I mean, you name it, whatever he can just bash you for and call you derogatory names for, he's going to, just shamelessly. And that character, actually talking about character development, he has a great arc. He goes places and it's done convincingly well, and by the end of the season you don't despise this guy like you thought you would. That right there alone sets it apart from a lot of slashers. Another thing that this show gets right is it takes that sense of pride in the creativity, whether it be what the killer looks like, his mask, everything kind of being something that can be iconic and, you know, it's just so memorable. And then even the kills kind of harken back to those, you know, Friday the 13th and Halloween movies, but particularly Friday the 13th. Child's Play as well. Also Nightmare on Elm Street, but always trying to be creative in the ways that they dispatch these characters. And it's like John Wick, but for slashers, you know? So the mask that the killer wears is awesome. Like it feels like it's a little bit inspired by The Purge, but it's so much cooler because it's just a completely black kind of hooded like outfit, you know, straight black, all except for the mask kind of has this like blue neon something like kind of going through it here, and it looks really just sinister, whatever it is. And the closer you get to him, then you see that it kind of almost starts to look like a Dr. Doom mask a bit, and something about that's just awesome. I don't know, and you can barely see the killer's eyes, so that also adds another kind of, you know, dehumanizing, scary factor that kind of separates them from us, you know. So that was extremely well done. I think it's safe to say that American Horror Story has a huge following at this point, and it's kind of become the flagship horror anthology of our time. And I think that once again, this is something that slasher does really well and does not get a lot of shine for it, and it probably should. It's an anthology series. You know, you have a lot of the same cast returning and playing different characters. And just like the American Horror Story cast has demonstrated season after season, their incredible range, you know, like one season you might be the villain, the next season you might be the protagonist. They do this here as well. You know, characters who were playing the killer in another season are playing a victim this time around, or vice versa. And it's just amazing because they sell it. It's so believable. And I can't believe that to this day, and I feel kind of guilty about it, but I don't really know any of these actors' names. And that's just a crime. I should look that up. You should too. They need props. They're out here killing the game. Another reason I keep coming back to this show again and again and again is not only is it a slasher, but it has a like serious whodunit element to it. Not all slashers have that, right? Like Jason movies, Michael Myers, you know, I keep going back to the legends, right? I mean, you know Michael Myers is the killer the whole time in a Halloween movie. You know Jason is the killer through every Friday the 13th movie. And this actually goes kind of more of a detective Hitchcock kind of route with things, in that the whole season you're trying to figure out who the killer is, because it's always someone that we have met and seen tons of times throughout the season. And it does such a great job of keeping it unpredictable enough to where, like, I take pride in usually being able to call out, like, from, you know, a couple episodes in, like, oh, that's your bad guy, just wait, you'll see. But this show really tricks me a lot. This past season, I had no clue who was going to be the killer, even remotely close, until one episode before the finale. And then even the last 30 minutes of the finale episode, they not only have a twist, but they pull like kind of a double twist on you, and continues to just blow your mind even more. And it's amazing for that. And I think that what makes that so great and so entertaining is that it invites the viewer in to kind of try to solve this murder mystery as it's going. And so it's not something that you just passively sit back and watch. After the show's over, you know, you're thinking about it, you know, throughout the day, or, you know, before you go to bed, you're like mulling it over, and it causes it to stick with you. And I think that alone just elevates it to the next level, because a lot of shows don't do that. And if they do, then that means they've got you thinking, and it rises above the norm. A lot of times when folks say that, you know, something is formulaic, it's always in a negative light, right? It's like, oh, it's predictable. But what slasher does that's so brilliant is it is formulaic, but without being too predictable. And I think that equates to it being an addictive show to watch, because it's kind of like with when a new Star Wars film comes out, right? You have certain expectations, and you're just satisfied when they're fulfilled. Like, you know, you step in and you want to hear the and then you're having the crawl going up the screen, and you know, there's certain things you expect. And so what this show teaches you to expect is, right out the gate, the beginning of every episode is a really solid, like, could be a standalone 5-minute horror short film, basically. There's always going to be a kill or something like that happens in the first few minutes of every episode. Then, you know, it goes into some flashbacks, giving you some backstory on some characters, jumping to the present day, and every episode kind of highlights a specific character and shows you kind of where they came from, what they're going through, kind of what their inner demons are, maybe things they've done in the past that could make them a target for the killer, or things from the past that make them very suspicious and make you wonder if they could in fact be the killer. And so that's amazing. That's what keeps bringing me back to it, because it's not just season 3 that does that. All 3 seasons pull it off, do it extremely well. And yeah, I just can't get enough of that. You know, it keeps giving you what you're hoping for and what you're expecting, and it never lets up, and it always comes through. So the only question I have now is there going to be a season 4? I really hope so. It would be awful if a show like this did get canceled and didn't get another season, just because it's underrated and overlooked. And so these are all the reasons why I think that it's worth your time to check out, especially if you're a slasher fan. And hopefully we can get more people on board with this show, because it's worth it. It's worth it, and I hope to see many more seasons. Thanks for watching. I want to know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you have seen Slasher, what you think about it, maybe some other shows that are really, really great recommendations as a Slasher fan. I'm always looking to find them. I will definitely check them out. So leave those in the comments down below while you're down there. If you enjoyed this, give us a like, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And until next time, we're gonna press pause. And I'm the only one today, so there's no one to click pause with. But it's all good. We'll catch you in the next one.